My name is Laura Kehoe. I like the quick turnaround and how it is just bite-sized pieces every day, so you feel like you stay on top of things. Woohoo! Everybody join Progress Texas.
It's Friday, March 20th, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier, and here at Progress Texas, we built a statewide audience. We reach millions of Texans monthly, and that's thanks to folks like you who invest in independent progressive media by Texans and for Texans. Our thanks to Nicole Ramirez, Darby Lockridge, and John Oberlin for their ongoing sustaining support. So when the last drops of precious life-sustaining water are being divvied out, do people get that water or do oil production companies get it? Well, believe me, the refineries on the coast around Corpus Christi aren't waiting around for an answer to that question. They're devoting their massive resources, money, and influence to grab as much water for themselves as they can. The Texas Tribune says Corpus Christi area producers have begun frantically seeking alternative water sources, they say, to prevent fuel shortages as the city and its over 300,000 citizens face a potentially catastrophic water emergency within the next 2 months. You might not know this, I didn't, that industrial concerns around Corpus already suck up over half of the local water supply there, and they're pleading with Governor Greg Abbott that even as Corpus Christi families face the end of their home water supplies and thus the end of their homes, even mild petrochemical production cuts could spike gasoline and jet fuel prices across Texas and the nation. Clearly, for them, and perhaps for the governor, a higher priority than those aforementioned Corpus Christi families. The governor has already suspended certain oversight and environmental protection procedures to accelerate these industrial water projects, while the townsfolk are facing a dramatically escalating schedule of stricter and stricter conservation mandates. In summary, this Texas Tribune report indicates that there is indeed a panicked frenzy for water underway in Corpus Christi, but that panic is for corporate interests, not for people. As you've probably heard, another round of No Kings events are happening a week from tomorrow on Saturday, March 28th. And with that in mind, we go to investigative journalist Stephen Monticelli for what to make of that Prairieland Antifa verdict earlier this week in Fort Worth and what it might mean for those of us who have become vocal and active in the name of progressive ideas and causes. Stephen writes for the Texas Observer that the verdict does establish a landmark legal precedent by successfully applying material support for terrorism charges against domestic activists associated with the decentralized and widespread progressive and leftist political ideology that Trump and Trumpy types insist upon calling Antifa. And with the outcome of this trial, there's now a federal blueprint for prosecuting civil disobedience through anti-terrorism statutes, as the court allowed the Trump Department of Justice to frame the defendants as a coordinated cell, despite being unable to demonstrate or prove any formal organization among them. By convicting individuals for activities such as using encrypted messaging apps, wearing specific protest attire, and distributing political literature, the jury has now paved the way for standard common protest situations to now be legally reclassified as the providing of personnel, equipment, or support to a terrorist enterprise. While they were at it, the court lowered the technical threshold for explosives by including common fireworks, effectively expanding the definition of what constitutes a violent terrorist tool during a demonstration. The Trump administration now has a legal green light to take an increasingly aggressive stance against left-wing activity and civil disobedience, most definitely including large-scale public protests like we've seen in prior rounds of No Kings rallies. And once you've been accused and convicted, terrorism enhancements are possible during your sentencing, which can exponentially increase prison time even for those who did not personally commit acts of violence, but were perhaps standing nearby, wearing similar clothing or holding a similar sign. Attorney General Pam Bondi has already cited this case in directives instructing law enforcement to investigate nonprofits and other groups for potential links to domestic terrorism as defined by these new terms. Carpooling to a rally, possessing radical literature, a wide array of other low-key, personal, private stuff clearly protected by the First Amendment, one would have thought, for the moment anyway, may now be used as evidence against you and me in domestic terrorism investigations and indictments. It's a dark moment, y'all. There's been a fundamental legal shift under which any organized pushback against government policy can now, with legal precedent, be characterized as a domestic terror threat. While we're stepping all over the First Amendment, let's cover the drag ban that, after a long legal battle as of Wednesday, is now in effect across Texas. Valeria Cruz Butron at the Austin Chronicle says Senate Bill 12 prohibits so-called sexually oriented performances on public property or in the presence of minors. A federal court had initially declared SB 12 unconstitutional, but the ultra-conservative 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals reversed that ruling, allowing Texas to restrict drag performances, and now businesses and individuals found in violation of the ban face fines of up to $10,000. The ACLU and other advocates are emphasizing that despite the law's Texas drag ban nickname, drag itself remains legal. Important to note that even the stodgy Fifth Circuit did clarify that family-friendly events like drag story hours and pride festivals do not meet the prurient interest definition required to violate this new law. But the ACLU continues to challenge it in district court, arguing that it remains unconstitutionally vague and encourages viewpoint discrimination. There's clearly plenty of misinformation out there to chill venues and event promoters to over-comply out of caution, which is likely to further marginalize LGBTQ plus performers and entrepreneurs, which clearly, for the Texas GOP lawmakers involved, was their end goal to begin with. In immigration this Friday, Molly Wilhelm at the Houston Chronicle says Liam Conejo Ramos, the 5-year-old Minneapolis boy whose detention along with his father at the Dilley ICE detention prison near San Antonio, helped put a spotlight on the deplorable conditions being suffered through there by detainees, has, along with his father, been denied asylum by a judge who made that call without allowing the family's attorneys to present any evidence. San Antonio Congressman Joaquin Castro, who, as you'll recall, lobbied for the pair's release from Dilley and escorted them on a flight back to Minneapolis last month, said his office is in touch with the Ramos family and their representatives and that they will continue their legal fight. Speaking of the Dilley facility and also from Molly Wilhelm, there's been a crackdown on video calls allowed by those incarcerated there, mostly children, after those calls have gone viral with glimpses of the misery inside. That's too much transparency for DHS, so they put a stop to it. Let's follow the money as it relates to all the misery that the Trump team are inflicting on human beings for daring to be present in our country with your tax money. It turns out there are several sets of Texans who are making out like bandits. Also from the Houston Chronicle, the suburban Houston-based company Target Hospitality have been quietly celebrating the windfall they've enjoyed with their shareholders while also warning those same shareholders to shut up about it as they're worried about the potential bad publicity should anyone find out. The city government of Dilley itself is now getting about 5% of their funding from core civic-related revenue, the tax impact of the private prison operations they're hosting. Corpus Christi-based Asset Protection and Security Services, which started out as a home fire and burglar alarm business but expanded into security personnel hired out to federal facilities run by FEMA and the IRS, have lately been doing the same for ICE. And CSI Aviation, an airline services company that coordinates air travel related to immigration detention and deportation across the country, is in the process of moving their base of operations from New Mexico to Killeen. Apparently, corporate America is all in on boatloads of money generated from human cruelty and misery. And they're actively recruiting our young people into this booming business as well. Valentin Montalvo at the San Antonio Current says the presence of a bunch of uniformed Customs and Border Protection agents who waltzed into William J. Brennan High School one morning last month has sparked a backlash. Northside ISD officials defended the visit as part of a state-mandated career and military readiness initiative, a job fair, if you will. Not what most of the kids at that school reasonably thought it was, an ICE raid. The youth activist group San Antonio Students for Peace has criticized the invitation to a bunch of uniformed border enforcement troops for a surprise visit to a mostly Hispanic school as tone deaf, and we'd say that's putting it mildly. There's no telling how many of those kids have already seen family members and neighbors dragged away by ICE amidst a campus environment that had recently seen student protest walkouts. Brennan High School Principal John Trimble has acknowledged that the visit caused genuine unease, given the current political climate, though the school maintains that they had viewed the Border Patrol and ICE as a common career option for their students, no different from the military or local police agencies. Please wake up, people. Clearly a lot to talk about at this weekend's county-level Democratic conventions, which are happening all across the Lone Star State, mainly tomorrow, Saturday, March 21st. Progress Texas is proud to be the official media partner of the Harris County Democratic Party Convention at the University of Houston. We're also sending a team to the Collin County Democratic Party Convention in McKinney. We'll be set up in the vendor areas of both conventions all day on Saturday the 21st, so do come find us, say hi, grab some merch, and be part of our day-long recording project for the podcast. If If you're listening in the Houston area before 10 a.m. this Friday, be sure to tune in to KPFT 90.1 FM at 10 to catch this weekend's edition of our In Progress Roundtable show. And note that as of next week, the show will be moving to Afternoon Drive in H-Town as part of a new block of political programming on KPFT. As of Thursday, March 26th, In Progress will air at 6:30 p.m. every Thursday evening. Progress Texas is proud to be part of the lineup of the legendary KPFT radio in Houston, and that we're now reaching a lot more voters in Texas's largest and most diverse city. With your support, we hope to expand our radio footprint beyond Houston to the top 5 Texas media markets this year. Hit the link in the show notes to make your tax-deductible donation to help us reach new audiences via Texas Radio. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Friday, March 20th, 2026. Links to all of these original stories can be found in our show notes. Our mission at Progress Texas is to improve and save Texans' lives by acting on our shared bold progressive values, and that starts with countering the billionaire and corporate-funded conservative disinformation machine. Progress Texas is an independent, nonprofit, rapid response media organization. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media in action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day and a great weekend. We hope to see you at the conventions, and we will see you again here on Monday morning.